Where we pay the fire department across the board. Well, we get contributions from all those and small things.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the Round Village Board of Trustees meeting for November 9th, call to order, please rise to the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, under God, indivisible, liberty, and justice. First order of business, a public hearing on amending local law 180 and 91 of the village code report regarding rentals. Anyone wishing to be heard on this? Can be heard now, and if you haven't signed in, please sign in. Any comments? Chapter 91 for long-term rental.
Can you read the law?
I can. A certificate of section 91-7 of chapter 91. The village code of Round Lake is amended by the addition of the following sentence to be added at the end of the existing text of subparagraph A. A certificate of occupancy or certificate of compliance shall be required for all structures, buildings, or portions thereof, which are converted from one use or occupancy classification or subclassification to another, such as a change from a rental to a short-term rental. Section 2, section 91-7B of chapter 91, Uniform Codes of the Code of the Village of Round Lake, is amended by the addition of the following sentence to be added to the second to last sentence of subparagraph B. The code enforcement officer shall issue a certificate of occupancy or a certificate of compliance if the structure, portion, or portion thereof of that was converted from one use or occupancy classification or subclassification to another complies with all applicable provisions of the New York State Uniform File Prevention and Building Code. And under section 180, definitions of the chapter 180 zoning of the code of the village of Round Lake is amended by the addition of the following definition. Rental of real property which is not a short-term rental, bed and breakfast, hotel, motel, tourist, cabin, or boarding house / rooming house / furnished room house / lodging house as defined in section 180-3 of single, double, or multifamily homes. Rental does not include premises on which the owner resides on such premises during the rental period. In other words, owner occupied. Interpretation of whether a rental unit falls within this definition shall be made by the code enforcement officer with the appeal to the Round Lake Village Zoning Board of Appeals. And section 2, section 27.2, information for code enforcement office, is added to chapter 180 zoning, reading in full. Owners of rental and short-term rentals shall supply the code enforcement officer with the contact information, including telephone number, email address, and physical address of an individual to address emergencies occupying on such properties. This requirement shall not apply to owners who reside within 5 miles of the subject rental or short-term rental, unless such owner shall reside more than 5 miles from their full-time residence for a period in excess of 1 month. That is it. Public comment? Okay, public hearing is closed at 6:35. And moving on to a presentation from Mr. Meager. Oh, then, I know I back, but did very well.
I don't know, many people were interested in insurance.
That's right.
I did promise the board, because you have a full agenda tonight, I would do the review in 15 minutes, but every board member has a copy
of what I'm going to quickly review. Tom had it, so if you have any questions, you could reach out to us after the meeting. My name is Dave Meager, native Round Laker. When we first moved to Round Lake, we lived on the Circle. Then we moved over to what is now called the Thyssen House. And have a lot of happy memories about the village, and went to school here actually through the 8th grade. Yes, there was a school here. It has since unfortunately been demolished. It was also a museum. And the Egyptian mummy was upstairs for those remember when the Egyptian mummy was in the village office. Lot of very happy memories about being brought up here, and always refer to Round Lake as my hometown. And I always commend the board because Round Lake has not changed in spite of the tsunami that has hit Saratoga County. Round Lake is the same Round Lake, other than when I lived here, the water pipes were wooden. And now they're not, and the roads may or may not have been paved, but we didn't come to hear me talk about it. But if there's anybody from the audience who's affiliated with an historical movement, ever want to talk to me about memories of Round Lake, I'd always be available for that. This part of the insurance is divided, village insurance is divided into two parts. One is the fire department. That is not what we're reviewing tonight. The reason we do that separately is we have a representative company that insures fire departments in a special program whereby they dividends if the group is profitable, and the most recent dividend was 10.7%. So that's one of the reasons that we split special programs in the fire department. So you won't hear me say anything about a fire truck tonight. This is everything else. The agency, our agency initially, when I first moved back to Round Lake, was founded by my parents and was called Round Lake Company. Not too imaginative, but it worked. And 25 years ago, next February 1st, I sold that agency to Adirondack Trust. And they have since acquired much larger agencies than mine, but mine had the distinction of being first. So our agency is now called Amsure. We're in Saratoga Springs. My co-worker and obviously my heir apparent is Dustin Hall. And Dustin will have an announcement at the end, but I'll just quickly go through the summary of insurance. One thing quickly about Dustin, if there's anybody in the audience who's a veteran, Dustin served 5 years in the U.S. Navy. He was on a aircraft carrier. And I don't think I have to tell anybody where the aircraft carriers go. They're the hot spots. So just quickly on the insurance, page 2 is just how you reach us. Page 3 with a list of the village properties like this building, like the village garage, into the water tower. The coverage is what's called the replacement cost. So that means if there is a claim, there won't be depreciation taken. The other thing about the property is that it's written on what is called a blanket basis. So they add up all the properties, they come to a total of 4.5 million. And in the event of a claim, say to this building, you could use that 4.5 million here, even though on this page it shows 1.470 million. So that's a nice feature of the property coverage. The fourth page is the general liability that the people get hurt on village property. it looks like $1 million, but you've got a $3 million umbrella, so that means it's really 4 million for any one general liability claim. Also, very hot topic of insurance these days is cyber. The village does have some cyber insurance. If you wonder what is cyber insurance, you think of the word hacking. If the village computers were hacked by the wrong people, they could, private information could be divulged. And if that happens, certain things have to be done under state law, and insurance provides the money to do those things. So, page 5 is the list of the vehicles, the dump trucks and even the golf cart is on here. Again, that looks like $1 million, but you've got that big the net off umbrella, so you have 4 million for any one general liability. Any one automobile claim, just like on the general liability. Page 6 is the list of the miscellaneous equipment, not vehicles, things like backhoes and loaders and equipment of that nature is all listed here. Page 7 is what's called public officials policy. It affects all elected and appointed officials and employees and even volunteers for decisions they make, acting within the scope of their duties. That would be things like wrongful termination, sexual harassment. On a sexual harassment claim, of course, we're never going to defend the perpetrator, but we'll defend the village. So, and of course, any victim. Page 8 is a bond that protects taxpayers for misappropriation of money, not that any of these fine people or these fine gentlemen here were misappropriated money, but we have had 200,000 for misappropriation of money. And then the workers' compensation is through the county self-insurance plan, so we don't handle that, but we handle the New York State disability, which is sort of the corollary to that. Page 9 is the premium difference between last year and this year. One thing I should have mentioned, we did raise the property limits by 5%. The other thing, I mentioned the dividend program earlier. Selective has what they call a municipal pooling arrangement. And last year, the dividend was $881. So if we took that into account, it would be like a 5% increase. Other than that, we like to make ourselves available. You don't have earthquake and flood, by the way. Obviously, flood is not much of a concern here. Earthquake, and a lot of earthquakes around the world today. But that is something that's available if you were interested. So the last thing that I'll mention, and then I'll just turn it over to Justin for a brief announcement, is that what we like to do is be involved in risk transfer. So if the village hires a contractor to do some work, we like to work with the engineer. So the specs are written in such a way so that the risk is transferred from the village to the contractor. And that can easily be done. I won't bore you with the details of how we do it. But all you have to do is call our office, and Dustin and I will work with the engineer on any kind of contract of that nature. So that, I hope, was within 15 minutes. Did anybody have any questions?
Dave? Yes, just one question. I noticed this with the building descriptions. Some we insure business personal property.
Yeah, that's kind of
Like contents.
Yeah.
But then why don't we, like the highway garage, what is the personal property with? I notice the highway garage doesn't get insured personal property.
That is probably because the vehicles are coming on the vehicle policy and the other equipment is covered.
Okay, yeah, right.
Okay, it's a good.
So tools and whatnot would be covered under the other equipment.
Right.
Let me just check and see if, we specifically. Yeah, we do have, on page 6, in order toward the top, unscheduled tools and equipment, 20,000.
Oh, okay.
And then all the equipment that would be in the garage is covered on page 6.
Okay.
And that was my question. Any other questions?
I do have one question. Have we in the past worked with you on the having guys to discuss the insurance stuff?
We just need that
Yeah, and we've always done that. That's part of what we do. There's not a charge for that or anything. And we'll work with the attorney on any contracts, not from a legal point of view, but from an insurance.
I think our pattern is that we have such a contract, there's also in the whole harmless clause,
Correct.
we run it by you to see if you have any suggestions.
Correct. That's right. So we thank, I'm gonna just turn it over to Dustin for a brief announcement. I thank everybody for your patience in sitting through an insurance presentation. And if the board has any questions about what you see on here, you know how to reach us. So we thank you for your loyalty, very much appreciate it. And we'll always do our best for you. Dustin? Yeah, so.
Hi, everyone. So real quick, last year we invited you guys, but we're continuing it this year. Hampshire and Adirondack Trust working on quick response to have
Why can't you get volume?
on December 9th.
You're welcome to.
Please,
Volume, audio button over there.
uh, and,
Selecting
um,
speakers, they seem
we'll be sending an email out as well on the date just to basically send over your RSVP numbers. It's just something that we'll continue to say thank you. And, you know, with quick response being right up the road, it's nice to be able to physically invite you guys and not just over email. So thank you guys.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Jerry.
Okay, on to public comments. Yes, sir.
I just wanted to, and regarding the dog park in Wallfield. Public hearing is going to be announced. Will we, instead, will I have a chance to speak when you offered, or are you just gonna make that as a date for tonight? As far as, the law going into effect. I was just wondering, I wanted to see if I could make an edit to it before you put it out, on a date, just the date that was put on the, actual.
Purpose of the public hearing, so you can.
So I can make it,
you can say what you want to say now.
Yeah, I just wanted to suggest that we put a date, it's, you have June 1st to October 31st, I was gonna say April.
That's right.
Yeah, April 1st.
Sue mentioned that.
Yeah, and I also have a question on that, when it says to, the dogs must be licensed by the town, is that the town of Malta or any town?
Town of Malta, well,
That's what I'm saying, it might be something you guys wanna look at and figure it out.
a town.
Yeah, or just maybe even keep that out, just need to be registered. And that's it.
Who's right there?
Hi, my name's Mary Ann Burbank and I'm a resident on James Avenue and I distributed a memo to Susan to the board with some pictures. So I'm here just because in recent communication with the mayor, I've been made aware that there's a consideration of using a lot adjacent to my property, but also close to my neighbor's properties. Some of them are here tonight for a dog park. And I guess there's some prevailing concerns that I have. But first I'd like to state that one of my concerns really involves how planning is done to allocate the use of public land for, park land for public use and how the public get involved. It has an avenue to get involved. So that's listed on, the 3 questions that I have at the end of this memo. But anyway, the lot next to my home is small. It gets flooded often. I've distributed photos so that there's standing water. But when we have a major rainstorm, it sits for 3 or 4 days. So, flooding is one of the major issues that I've listed as a concern for use of that lot. And again, let me qualify this. I'm not saying that there is no room for a dog park somewhere in the village, but just this particular lot. As far as hygiene, it needs to be kept clean. Do we have the personnel to keep it clean? If there's standing water and there's dog waste, feces, there are diseases, specifically Giardia, which can be fatal to dogs. It can be spread to humans. I did some research on that. The size of the lot is very, very small for a dog park. It would not allow for large and small dogs to be separated. A gate would have to be put in, which would make it even smaller. Monitoring and maintenance, do we have, this is again, general dog park questions. Do we have the personnel to monitor and maintain the dog park? To keep dogs doing what they're supposed to be doing in there, not getting unruly. If large dogs are not to be next to small, but again, just general questions of that. Do we have the personnel to handle this? There's no parking on James Avenue, which means people would be tempted to park on the street, which would be an issue. There's a noise issue, a noise issue with barking. There's a noise issue with most of us having dogs, 6 of us having neighbors. And safety. I guess this is one of my key concerns. The lot sits right at the curve where it's a blind curve. And there's very, very often children walking back and forth to the village, between homes, just enjoying Mount Lake. And this would blind, anybody parking there would blind it, although it's already blinded. So anyway, so my requests, I put on the 3rd page, the 2nd page, I'm sorry, here you got some on the 2nd page. I have put my glasses on. I can't read it. All right, so I'm proposing that the village inform residents as to the municipal procedure, I said that earlier, for making decisions as to the allocation of public park space for specialized use, including a dog park. Volunteering to be a member of the village dog park committee, and requesting that I'm informed. I've sent out a follow through and contribute to this committee. Gary and I have talked about that in emails, and I think I know who the chair is, but I'm not sure. And then I'm requesting that the village consider and schedule as an agenda item public discussion in some upcoming board meeting, the topic of a need for a dog park in the village, so that everyone can contribute to that discussion, and to disclose what sites are under consideration besides James Avenue. So that's what you're welcome.
Any more?
Hi, yes,
Cody?
Cody Simpson, at 2 George Avenue. I'm looking at our agenda. I'm wondering if this might be a topic for the December 17th meeting, but I did just want to publicly state my opposition to any type of dog park being considered on James Avenue.
And I
It's
would
way.
also put that.
It is.
The only plus to that site is that it has $10,000 worth of fencing around it. And that's the only positive aspect to it.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Are we considering putting a park in dog park in James Avenue? Because nobody, this into the,
No,
nobody knows about anything about it.
No.
Okay, so before everybody gets hot to trot on this, we haven't even talked about it.
No one's had to try. This was, no one's had to try.
Before you,
Excuse me, I got communication in email I should be happy to share with you, indicating from the mayor that it was under consideration.
everything was under consideration.
Well, that's what prompted my response.
Okay, that's fine.
You know,
Thank you for your well thought out reason.
To assure you, I mean, there hasn't been a discussion at this board about creating dog parks.
Okay,
There's been some informal talk back and forth. There's been discussion for years, but nothing.
Well, yeah,
Nothing.
but it's never,
Nothing has been brought
where
forward.
should we have one, where we would put it, how much is it gonna cost, none of that stuff.
so with the change in the allocation of the ball field and people using that to run their dogs, wouldn't it be feasible to expect that there will be some request for a dog park in the village, or maybe not, I don't know, I'm just, that was the reason that I'm given.
For about.
Yeah, several years ago, we did a survey, big survey, village-wide, and tons of people said yes, they would use it, and so.
Okay, that was before I lived here, so.
Yeah, and everything you said is right.
Is right.
Is right. It's like,
Thank you.
you can't just slap down a fence and throw dogs. So there has to be a process. So we did stand up a committee.
And there will be, and people will be informed, and everyone will have an opportunity to speak, so.
Right.
So that is the process, a committee and then a public hearing and.
Well, they would have to make a recommendation from the board and then somebody on the board.
Because it will cost money, so definitely.
Right, would have to make a proposal or a.
You have to have a draft law.
Is
That's what I was trying to understand, I did.
Yeah,
The committee has not met yet, we're still
Okay.
early days.
Wait,
I was gonna say, based on our new committee procedures or rules. I believe there's a whole procedural process
Okay,
set up and everything.
okay, well, I volunteered to be on that committee, what it's worth.
Check in again, this time, 2026.
2026.
So just to clarify, the meeting, the public hearing set on December 17th is discussing prohibiting dogs at the ball field, not any dog parkland reservation. Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
Separate issues related.
okay.
Right, thank you.
Sorry for being so.
Is that?
I don't know if it doesn't work, so you just follow it. After that, take the first line of the whole business.
All right, and so on to reports. Have the superintendent. Superintendent report here. Finished painting the window glazing of the west side windows of the auditorium, they look fantastic. Winterize the auditorium, shut it down for the season. Prep for winter, painted with truck beds and salters, installed salters and plows. Wood chip the brush pile behind the DPW. Weekly trash and yard waste pickup. And remove docks from the lake and shut down the boat launch. That's what they've been up to, the DPW. And treasurer.
The following actions are proposed for board approval. Transfer funds for Jane Street fence. Funds associated with the Jane Street fence project will be transferred from CM 8990 Act 0 Recreation Fees Reserve to 807110 Act 4 Parks Contractual. This transfer will provide the necessary appropriations to cover the expenses for the construction of the new fence on Jane Street. That would increase A 7110 Act 4 Parks contractual $2,500 and decrease CM 8990 Act 0 Recreation Fees Reserve $2,500. Transfer funds for pump house upgrades. Funds will be transferred from F 8820 Act 0 Reserve for repairs to F 8220 Act 40 source supply power, supply pumping contractual in the amount of $4,500. Increase F 8320 Act 40 parks contractual $4,500. Decrease F 8820 Act 0 recreational fees reserve $4,500. Transfer funds from water service charges to metered and unmetered water sales. Funds will be reclassified from F 2144 water service charges to F 2140 metered water sales and F 2142 unmetered water sales. This adjustment is necessary due to an incorrect configuration within the billing software, which resulted in revenue being posted to the wrong account. Decrease F 2144 water service charges by $74,254.54 and increase F 2140 meter water sales $32,308.22. Increase F 2142 unmetered water sales $41,946.32. Abstract of claims, the treasurer has provided the November abstract for approval, which includes October prepaid invoices and November claims. The total for the November abstract is $150,317.70 to be approved per fund as follows. A fund, $115,789.07. F fund, $33,401.88. And G fund, $1,126.75.
Right. Under, transfer funds for pump house upgrades,
Yeah,
under decrease, it should say reserved for repairs. Instead of
Oh.
rec fees reserved,
okay.
let's make that change. It was corrected in the wording.
Okay. Okay.
So I'll make the motion that we transfer the funds for the, as stated by the treasurer. The Jane Street fence for the pump house upgrades with the amendment. And the water service charges. Are we gonna do the abstract also?
Well, third, second,
Okay.
second, the discussion?
That's a good question, during discussion.
Yes.
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 Yes. Next, we have abstract of claims.
Now, make the, as noted by the treasurer, for the abstract, for November. At $150,317.70. The A fund as noted, 115,789.7. The F fund, 32,401.88. And the G fund, 1,126.75.
Second. Discussion? Adam? Yes. Eric? Yes. Jason?
Yes.
Yes. All right, the chief.
For October, we had 36 alarms. For 311 staff hours, brings the year-to-date total to 491 alarms. 23 ahead of the same point last year. So I had a total of 216 staff hours for drills, another 60 for outside training, and 215 for miscellaneous activity, brings the total year-to-date staff hours to about 9,900. Also, the rescue truck is back in service, and repairs were completed about a week after the last board meeting. This past Sunday, we participated in the Toys for Tots convoy. And on Saturday, December 20th, we'll be escorting Santa through the fire protection area. The rough schedule and travel routes we on the Facebook page as we get closer to that.
Thank you. Parking, animal control.
Had one call this month, but it was someone out of the village, just over the village line, so I referred them to Malta. And I've made several tours of the village so far this month, and just yesterday, I think was I picked up a bag of garbage on the middle of Route 9 southbound, right in the traffic lane, huge bag, put it on the side of the road, or somebody hit it and had an accident.
I'd rather not know that.
Uh,
It makes me very nervous, can't be doing that.
Yeah, well, I think it was all tied up and everything, I think it fell off a truck. It shouldn't have fallen off him, but it did, and figured I'd get it out of the road before somebody got hurt over it. And I'd like to say at this time that I want to thank you, Mr. Mayor, the clerk, village attorney, all the trustees who, as you know, my car was destroyed on the 16th of September at the left turn lane on Route 9. So I was sideswiped while sitting in the lane, and I just appreciate the fact that you got me a nice car, because I'm in no position to buy a car at this point. And so appreciate it.
10-year-old car, so it was.
Pardon?
10-year-old car.
Well, that's okay, but it was newer than my car that was substituting as a village patrol vehicle. But
Okay, thank you. Auditorium.
Hold inside the auditorium. It's my favorite part. Thanks to the village guys for making this look awesome. Is the east side just gonna get painted in the spring? Is that the plan?
Yeah.
Cool. And then we applied for a Global Foundries grant, that was due at the end of October, and we applied for $8,000 to put towards, the front doors and probably it'd be just awesome to fix both of the double doors on the east and the west side, so. Hopefully that comes through. And then, thank you, Danielle and team for an awesome, Halloween there. Felt like it was just a great evening. Yeah, wasn't too chaotic. The haunted house, I think, was like one of the best we've ever had. That was fun. So great job to that team. And then Molly and I attended a 10-year anniversary celebration for Thaler, Riley, and Wilson. And did they do our master plan? Cool. So I hadn't realized that until after I went, but it was great to meet them. And then we also connected with just a whole bunch of people in the historic preservation for architecture. And then also just a lot of different art groups that put on events in New York State. And one of the closest connections we have right now is with Kuroga Arts, who was putting on the event with the architecture firm. And what's cool is the director of the Kuroga Arts, they just bought a house in Malta. So we have a resource for just as we grow and we promote events, I really want to lean into him as kind of like a mentor, because what they're doing up at Kuroga Lake is very similar to what we could potentially do here in Runway. So we have some friends in our town now, which is cool. And then Molly is planning to sell shirts and ornaments at the market on Friday. And then other than that, just working through contracts and booking for the 2026 season.
8E3. Yes. We should have a calendar ready before the 1st. I have to with it, so it's going to be all historic pictures because it's very easy to do. Piggyback that into the book. The book is out to the publisher. Everything done, and I'm just waiting for a final edit on it. Good to get the word to be the print. And other than that, all the sign that we're working on for the Old Schoolville or Labyrinth Park is on its final stages. Also, we should be almost ready to order that and give that a go and see how it works. And then hopefully, if it's a good fit, we're going to be looking at other parks in the village to place some other signs out there. I think we'll probably try to work along with the tree committee because they're looking into putting that on your agenda, but putting park signs. That's the sign, and the tree committee wants to put park signs in every park, a small sign. To alleviate too many signs, I offered this sign that we were putting in where the museum used to be, to just headline that Prospect Park. So we wouldn't have to have another sign that's at Prospect Park. And so we're hoping to do that in the other parks around the village also. Other than that, that's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
A couple of messages here from the food pantry. Demands are high these days. We'll make all efforts to deliver the food that's in the baskets to the local food pantries and thank everybody for their donations. Want to thank Maya and the Veterans Committee for all their efforts with the Veterans Day ceremony. I heard this was a great success and a lot of people attended. And thank you for all your efforts on that. Water readings have been done, so look for your water bills around the beginning of December 1st. And then there's a note as to whether or not Santa will come to town. We need volunteers to lead the kids to welcome Santa to Round Lake. Ideally, we're looking for 2 people to take this over, and you can inquire with me in the office, or you can inquire with Nancy Benson with Corliss. Thank you.
Tree committee.
I have a note from Mark Marion. The tree committee planted 5 trees around the north side retention pond at Victorian Landings. Planted 6 trees in the sidewalk strip in front of 6 homes at Griffin's Ridge. A village-owned lot on the corner of Burlington and Barn Alley was laid over 2,000 square feet of cardboard as a weed barrier and 2 to 3 inch layer of topsoil. Seed for native wildflowers will be put into the topsoil in December once the risk of early germination is low. The seeding has to be done at the beginning of the winter, as the majority of the seeds require 60 to 90 days to break dormancy before germination. Thanks to the tree committee members, Paula Doyle, myself, Danielle Rigney, and village residents Eric and Camille Olson, Chris Palmerville, Patty Van Geisling, Luke Kiesner, Bob Linello, and I'm gonna kill his name, Mike Putty, for their help with this month's project. A special thank you to Gary Jones for using his tractor to help spread the topsoil on Barn Alley. I have one more little snippet. Mark, Gary, our mayor, and Stu Galloway had a kickoff meeting with Saratoga Associates on Friday, 11/14. Saratoga Associates will be helping the village with an administration of DEC Community Forest Management Grant. And if anybody wants any details, our mayor Gary can fill in on them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, under old business, Victoria Landing HOA amendment. To address any possible perception of bias and for fundamental fairness, I would like to offer the following resolution. Whereas the Victorian Landings Homeowner Association Incorporated, HOA, has voted to amend its bylaws, and whereas such amendments must be approved by the Village of Round Lake Board of Trustees, and whereas the Board of Trustees have reviewed the proposed amendment at length and heard from members of the HOA and from the attorney for the HOA. Now therefore it is resolved that the proposed amendments are approved in the form annexed hereto, provided that whichever board or committee of the HOA hearing appeals from the homeowner's determination of a license agreement made after enactment of the proposed amendments, for example, arbitration board, have an entirely different membership from either the committee or board recommending termination of the license agreement or the HOA board itself. Such requirements to be included in the written bylaws amendment. Did you want to add?
We need a second in order to discuss.
7. Discussion. Yes.
Okay, I received an email from the attorney for the HOA, Joseph Walt Esquire. Please caution your board that if it adopts the proposed resolution, that is the one which I've read, the board will be violating the HOA's constitutionally protected property rights under color of law. And that to the clerk, and that's Stephanie, whatever the.
And the reason for this is that currently Article 10 compliance and arbitration states that the arbitration committee shall consist of the president of the board of directors as chairman of the committee and 2 other members of the board of directors who shall be appointed by the board of directors to serve at the pleasure of the board of directors. I don't know, just put myself in the position of somebody going for an appeal and seeing the same members on the grievance committee that did the denied in the first place. This doesn't seem fair. So that's where I stand on that.
Other discussion?
Any other comments?
So based on the message from the HOA's attorney, what does our attorney recommend or suggest?
Could you speak up there?
What do you think?
I think that the, requirement that this board approve changes with the offering statement in the bylaws and is in the legislation creating the land development district. And I'll offer this observation. I'm not aware of any intense desire on the part of this board to have that approval authority. And I would think that if the HOA went to the Secretary of State and said, I'm sorry, to the Attorney General's office, which has jurisdiction over these types of not-for-profits, and that the Attorney General's office is willing to allow an amendment to take away these, this board's authority to approve or disapprove legislation, I think that the HOA would find that this board isn't going to resist that. If there is no specific proposal, I mean, I can't state that with certainty, but I would be very surprised if efforts on the part of the HOA to remove that offensive provision were resisted by this board at all. And I think that if the offering statement and the bylaws were amended to remove that, it seems to me a likelihood that this board would amend the PDD legislation to remove that provision as well, for whatever it's worth.
Do we have to? Can't we just do that on our own?
We can't change the bylaws on our own or the offering statement. But we can change the PDD language on our own, but unless all those documents are in accord, I'm not sure that gets us where we want to go.
I'm with Gary. This is very undemocratic. As written, without this additional language that is being proposed. I don't see how you guys. I don't see how you guys do it to begin with up there, but we certainly shouldn't be following this.
Excuse me, will there be an opportunity for public comment?
From the attorney, yes.
What about other members of the public?
We've heard from other members of the public for months and months.
What if there are new members here who would like to be addressed, you address the board?
Bart?
What if there are other new members in the audience that?
What if there aren't?
Excuse me?
I'm trying to figure out what you're saying. What if there aren't?
So what if there are other members here tonight who would like to be heard on this?
I believe that the board has heard a great deal about this, and that
We are ready
it's
to move on.
unlikely that there's anything that's new, and I think we should.
So we are
not have another.
May I have some?
The attorney may briefly.
Very briefly, I promise. Right, so, first of all, the offering plan is gone. Once the last unit was sold by the sponsor, the offering plan has no longer any existence. This is a non-charitable organization. It's not a charitable organization. It is not governed by the Attorney General's office, period. Okay? To the comment made by the board member, this board certainly has the power to amend the 2009 Plan Development District Law. I pointed out in my September 22nd email, Mr. Peterson, well, by the way, when you approved the Griffin's Ridge project, I think it had a different name initially, but under that PDD legislation, you had no authority or provision to interject the village board into the internal affairs of the association. Certainly no veto power over any amendments. There was a provision, however, in the declaration which is common practice that boards typically like to see, which is basically they're made a third-party beneficiary. The municipality has the right, but not the obligation to enforce the provisions of the declaration. In the case of Griffin's Bridge in particular, the language in that declaration, which presumably the board approved, it says, in the interest of public health, safety, and welfare, the village of Brown Lake shall have the right, but not the obligation, to enforce the provisions of this declaration, which relate to the use, maintenance, repair, ownership, or improvement of any real property owned by the association, in the event that the association, after demand by the village, unreasonably refuses to enforce any material provision of this declaration with respect to the foregoing matters. That gives you all the power to step in there if you're not happy with what the village is doing in relation to a zoning power, a site plan approval condition, or your other zoning powers as defined in your PDD. Why on earth would you want to interject yourselves into the internal affairs of the private corporation if it doesn't impact the concerns and legitimate objectives of the village?
Mr. Wolf, I don't have all that what confirms me. The declarations, covenants and so forth, does that also include the village board's
Power to-
approval of changes?
No,
So it's not in the declarations, it was in the offering plan, it's not in the
I
declaration,
don't think it's in your.
it's in the bylaws.
Nope. No. Okay, so I guess what I'm asking is, this is a very simple fix that the village can do by a very simple amendment. And actually, we'd be fine with just a side agreement with the village that, yes, if we do anything that has an impact on the zoning powers and authority or the original PDD, yeah, we have to come to you. In fact, we might have to ask for an amendment before anything can happen. But right now, the HOA owns this property. The other member owners have deeded easement rights to use that property. And notwithstanding your concerns about fairness, that's not really the issue here. The issue is, these are the governing documents with all members when they bought agreed to be governed by. It's a contract among and between the association and all the members. We've given you a compromise solution at the last meeting, which was intended to avoid further controversy. And, you know, we've been around, we were more than willing to discuss in the last almost 2 months, or more than 2 months, anything that we could do to move this thing forward to avoid controversy and dispute. So that offer is still on the table. So, you know, before you do something that everybody may regret here, we're open to further discussion, but we need to have a dialogue and not necessarily at the meeting itself.
If I'm asked by the board to draft a revision of the PDD language, I will run that by you so that you have the opportunity to comment on that.
That would be wonderful. That would solve everybody's problems. And avoid the village having to spend so much time on this issue, which should never happen in the first place. Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Mr. Walton, regarding your comment on putting fairness aside or something like that. We as elected board members of the village have to be concerned with that. There's about 140 residents in Victoria Landing. 140 registered voters that we have to be concerned with. Now, my understanding of how the HOA votes is each unit gets a vote. And he stated that the amendment passed with 62.5% approval. Now, how many units actually voted?
That's 62.5% of all of the units.
67 out of 80,
Thank you.
67.
and one was turned down, so it's 68 out of 80, so only 12 people did not vote.
So that is 67 units voted. How many people is that? I don't know.
We're only allowed one vote per house.
I understand that, but how many, from our perspective, units that vote? How a unit could have 3 voters, it could have 1 voter. Not for the village, for our perspective.
Oh,
Because we have two different perspectives here. And we have to be concerned with all the residents.
I think we have to also be concerned with the property rights of the association, which are constitutionally protected. September 17th letter outlined
But
the legal analysis.
I have a hard time saying how the resolution that we're discussing here affects property rights.
The owner of the property has a right to grant permission to others to use their property. That is the definition
Correct.
of a
But
license.
the only thing that we're asking is that the grievance board be made up of members that are not.
I know what you're asking for, but with all due respect, you have no right to ask for it. Okay, it is above and beyond your powers as a village. It is way beyond your zoning powers. And it is violating the constitutional rights of my client. So,
Okay.
if this is election and you lost
All right,
every election by 2 votes, what rights would you have?
All right.
And
That's
just
your-
a footnote here, I'm looking at the bylaws. Article 9 amendments, any amendment of these bylaws adopted hereunder shall require approval by the village of Round Lake Board of Trustees by resolution. So it's in the bylaws and it's in the
It's in the
legislation.
bylaws, but
We-
doesn't there have
we
to be
can-
some reasonable limit to that?
You just said it wasn't that.
I'm sorry, I thought you were talking to the Griffin, about the Griffin Ridge.
Griffin Ridge HOA is like $5 a month. All they have is some shared water and some sprinklers.
It doesn't matter.
It's apples and oranges.
Well, we are talking about it because it's not a private association that you treated us differently and more favorably.
Well, hang on, let me ask the question on this. In the bylaws, whether it's standard or not, does it not say that we have a role in the HOA? No, I didn't add your interpretation of it. Does it say that the board of Village Round Lake has a role in the HOA?
I'm not gonna answer yes or no, so I'm
All
sorry.
right.
It's not my answer.
So,
Okay, any further, I need to correct another error.
okay.
In the amendment of this declaration or the bylaws adopted terms or shall require approval by the village for only board of trustees by board resolution. So it's in the declaration covenants, it's also in the bylaws, it's also in the local law. The only thing that we have the power to change is the local law. And, again, if this board is, inclined to do that, I will share the proposal with you so that we can coordinate if indeed the village board is going to remove itself from the approval process.
I understand that, and as you know, without appropriate better definition, I think things have to be taken in their context. We have no problem with if there's going to be any kind of amendment that has any impact whatsoever on the PDD legislation or otherwise on the town's site plan and zoning power, we have to come to you. I have no issue with that. Okay, but beyond that, why do you care what we do internally? It doesn't make any sense.
I understand you keep talking about what the town, I assume even the village is doing, and, but we didn't draft the declaration, we didn't draft the bylaw, we did draft the legislation. So, again, if your board is going to do that, I would coordinate with you so that it will be the left hand and the right hand.
I would be happy to work with you.
At crossroads.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
In the meantime, I think we ought to go ahead and this has been on the table long enough, I guess we should vote.
I agree. Any further discussion?
So you want to vote on the amendment,
On Gary.
Gary's language? And can we then proceed with the changing the language of the PDD?
Yes, all I need is for one of the board members to say, Tom, why don't you try your hand at revising that?
Okay, so let's do this thing first, Gary's thing. Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
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 Okay, can I make a suggestion or resolution or that we, ask Tom Peterson, our attorney, to start investigating the, bylaws of P, or the PDD legislation with the intention of relieving the board from any further,
I will have a draft for the board at the next meeting on notice to the HOA and sense.
Thank you. And next is. Motion to adopt a resolution, adopting the changes to chapters 91 and
What, separate resolutions for chapter 91 and for chapter 1.
okay. A resolution adopting the changes to chapter 91. Anyone?
I mean, second that?
Yes.
Second.
Second, okay, discussion?
yes.
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 Yes. And a resolution adopting the changes to chapter 180.
Second.
Discussion?
Yes.
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 Yes. Under new business, EV parking regulations. Public notice is hereby given that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Round Lake will hold a public hearing pertaining to a proposed local law establishing Article 7 electric vehicle charging stations for Chapter 168 Vehicle and Traffic of the Code of the Village of Round Lake, providing for electric vehicle charging stations on December 17th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. at Village Hall, Village of Round Lake. This has been proposed legislation has been circulated and will be circulated again prior to the meeting.
Your second?
Second.
Discussion? Yes. Yes. Those. Public notice is hereby given that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Round Lake will hold a public hearing pertaining to amendment of section 83, chapter 83, the Code of the Village of New York, to read, dogs are prohibited on the baseball field at Pastoral Park from April 1st until October 31st. Dogs are permitted in other areas of the park as long as they are restrained by a leash not exceeding 10 feet in length, are licensed by the state,
Licensed by the town.
the town.
Well, they have to be specific because you could have somebody from Clifton Park
By a town
by 8.
and under the control of the handler at all times. On the 17th day of December 2025 at 6:35 at the community room. 6:30. What did I say? 6:25.
This is
25.
6:15.
Okay.
This is 6:25,
10:25. The community room, at which time all persons desiring to be heard thereon will be heard. Second, discussion?
Yes.
I have one discussion, maybe a slight tweak to the license, because, do all states require towns to license dogs? Or
New York
that,
State requires all dogs to be licensed, they are licensed by the county.
does that license pertain to other states? Like, if somebody from another state wants to bring their dog there, how does?
They're bound by our local law.
Okay. So they wouldn't be able to bring their dog because they're not registered in our town, essentially. Just wanted to make sure we don't get in trouble for something like that, somebody who has a dog from a different.
Prohibiting the people will get us in trouble, prohibiting the dogs will not.
Oh.
Right, Tom?
Yes.
Eric? Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Next, video surveillance policy has been distributed. Time to the time. Entertaining motion to adopt the video security recording policy. Yeah, a second discussion. Okay, Tom, Eric? Reluctant, yes, Jay?
Yes.
Yes. Next is grant writing, I skipped a couple things. Village-wide car plan, paper street surveys. Working with the engineer on getting a proposal for a village, originally started out as a village-wide survey, but that could be problematic, so we're going to target certain village-owned properties that we would like to have surveyed. So he's working, we have to develop a list of targeted properties that we would like to see, village properties that we'd like to see surveyed. And we'll get that list to Van Gilder surveyors, and they will come up with a cost for doing that.
So, could I ask a question?
Yeah, this is
So-
just information.
Yeah, on the survey issue, if I was not, if my property wasn't being targeted for the look, you know, the thing with the survey. But let's say Kingman's was,
This is just for village-owned property.
oh, village.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
okay,
yeah,
okay.
this is just for the Parsons.
I
paper
thought
streets
we,
and
I
stuff.
thought we did that a few years ago on a big map.
We have the deeds, but, you know, we don't really have surveys, you know, with markers,
Okay,
the iron poles in there.
so we'd be surveying just public property.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess my only question with that is there any particular type, besides the paper streets, is there any criteria in which we're gonna be looking at for reasons to survey certain properties?
One of the piece of paper that was under, we started as a list that Stuart Galloway came up with when we were talking about this, so he sent this to me, you know, I asked you guys to come up with an idea, any thoughts that you had on it as well.
Yeah, I have a couple of thoughts about that.
So get that to me and I'll put them together and we can discuss it next meeting maybe.
Okay, so this has been happening.
No, this is just
Okay,
informational.
thank you.
Ball field, video surveillance. Grant writer, I put 10,000 in the budget last year for a grant writer. Grant writers, and as Danielle mentioned, we met with Saratoga Associates. They came up with a plan that they sent around to folks. They will be, if approved, they will be helping us with the tree grant, which we have, as well as pursuing grants for the auditorium and playgrounds and other things that may come up. So I would be asking for, and they fall under the category of professional services, so no bid is required for this. I would request a motion to authorize the mayor to execute a contract with Saratoga Associates not to exceed $10,000 for proposals dated November 3rd, 2025 and November 10th, 2025, which you have via email.
Since we already appropriated this, do we have to give you permission to send it?
And to sign a contract.
Second,
Okay, second discussion?
Yes.
Eric?
yes.
Yes.
Yes. And next, we will need a resolution to accept to adopt the Saratoga County Hazard Mitigation Plan, which reads, whereas the village of Round Lake recognizes the threat of natural hazards posed to people and property within the village of Round Lake. And whereas the county of Saratoga has prepared a multi-hazard mitigation plan, hereby known as Saratoga County Hazard Mitigation Action Plan Update 2025. In accordance with the Disaster Mitigation Act 2000, and where Saratoga County Hazard Mitigation Action Plan Update 2025 identifies the mitigation goals and actions to reduce and eliminate long-term risks to people and property in the village of Round Lake from the impacts of future hazards and disasters. Whereas adoption by the village board demonstrates their commitment to hazard mitigation and achieving goals outlined in the plan. Now therefore be it resolved by the village of Round Lake, New York, that section 1, in accordance with local rules for adopting resolutions, the village board adopts the Saratoga County Hazard Mitigation Plan Update 2025. This plan, approved by the community, may be edited or amended after submission for review, but will not require the community to readopt any further iterations. This only applies to the specific plan and does not absolve the community from updating the plan in 5 years. And I would like to thank Peter Sheridan for his huge amount of time that he spent working on this. And the plan, I think, is available on the website. Susan? Is the huge plan available
I
on the
believe it's
website?
on the website, also this printed copy.
Okay,
Um,
so I will move that. We have a second? Second. Jason seconds. Discussion? Tom?
I haven't seen this. I don't know what it means. A hazard mitigation.
Defines floodplains and what we're doing to stop.
So if the county has defined a floodplain that's not in line with ours, what happens to a property that's either gonna be sold, developed? And is there gonna be that conflict?
That I think is separate from, that's a separate issue, I think, from
That is.
adopting the plan.
That's what?
That's FEMA.
That's FEMA. Okay,
Do we have a hazard mitigation plan now?
It is on the website. It is a huge document.
Yeah,
No,
Saratoga
for the
County.
village. Just the village.
counties.
It's done on the county. We have one, a subset. There's a big document like this, one section of which is Round Lake.
And that is what we're talking about adopting
Yes,
now.
that
Okay.
Peter's been working on.
We don't have an existing plan that this could possibly
The village, no.
conflict.
And we don't define floodplains or anything. We rely on
okay.
FEMA and
So there would be no
Army
conflict.
Corps.
Okay,
You haven't seen it.
but I haven't seen it.
Have you seen it?
It was something Peter was presenting and talking about over the summer, like.
I remember Peter mentioning, but
Right,
I
and
don't remember any review of it.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know what it says.
I would look and see how we did, but I know there's been a copy of it hanging in the office for review, and there was one out in the hall.
There's a lot of stuff in these, on these websites that I have no idea how to even reach.
Susan, do you remember if there was a timeliness? Could this be put off to next month, or were they in a hurry to get it?
Honestly, I don't know. I know that I think they wanted this year, but I don't know if they wanted this month.
So we can put it off till December, and I'll gladly send you the document.
Right.
I know it's gonna be huge.
That
I know it's
was
gonna be-
Round Lake was
This link thing. Yeah, I like to see it. Thank you.
All right, we will put that off till next week. Next month. And the hose company contract.
I'm looking for a resolution approving, in a sense, reenacting the contract, and we just updated the two numbers, which is more money from Malta, more money from the town of Alston, all of which gets passed through the fire enforcement.
I will move a motion
Oh, Jason moves it.
to approve following Tom's recommendations. So for,
Tom seconds. Discussion?
Yes.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yes. Correspondence.
I took, where to go? So, one, in the post office. They are asking us to be timely in picking up our mail. Busy season, they don't have a lot of room for stuff. So they would like you to pick up your mail. As soon as you realize there's a package or these come in every few days to empty out the mailbox. There's also other sets of documents that, come through from Saratoga County that offer just some helpful information or some, are you aware kind of information. Things like, one of the recent ones they did was, chainsaw safety, e-bikes and e-bike safety, and the laws around e-bikes. So when I get those, another packet that I kind of just stick outside as a paper copy, and then I post it on the website for those interested in seeing that. So, that's it.
Oh, speaking of the photograph, one other thing that Oz wanted brought up was, we want people to be very, very careful when they're closing the box. If you have an old box, don't slam it shut because they're falling apart and their parts are not made anymore, so they're cannibalizing parts from other ones. And we might get 4 or 5 more years out of them
Before we get to the keys.
before we have to use those hideous silver things we use. So treat them kindly and gently. Okay, we have minutes to approve? Susan,
I'm sorry,
did we have minutes to approve?
you do have minutes to approve, yes. I emailed them,
What's the,
hold on, it's October 15th, there's a date. You guys can see a copy? I know it's.
was everybody here?
Everybody was at this meeting, but these guys are all here, these guys are all here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right. You wanna make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Discussion?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Village attorney.
You've worn me out, I have nothing else.
Ditto from the village mayor, village trustees.
Ditto.
We might actually give you time to check.
No.
No, on YouTube, yes, but. Yeah, I would like to thank Eric for his level-headed and excellent questions and keeping me on point. And service for the last couple of years. Thank you very much.
We still don't know who's on the other.
We still don't know, they still have not, sent me the info as of yesterday. I asked her, she said things haven't changed since. So. Keep biting your nails.
So you can pass along this comment from this particular board member that there's Board of Elections website is scrapes.
That seemed better.
And it needs to be revamped so you can actually get information.
I think that's part of the whole Saratoga County website, though. That's just one branch of it. So it might be a bigger issue. But I agree with you. It's not easy to find stuff.
One thing that I would like to bring up as my trustee comment is, as we're moving towards possibly getting looking at getting grants for buildings, playgrounds, dog parks. I think we should open up the conversation in one of these next coming meetings about getting some, maybe a possibly standing committee or two. So that way we can have some, better village input and have some more people with expertise to try to put their knowledge into how to best allocate maybe some of these grants into the auditorium or what playgrounds to help spruce up.
Okay, thank you. Public comment.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna piggyback on that, because I'm not really sure. I have a copy of the master plan for the auditorium. I'm not gonna read through it, but is anybody aware of when this actually expired? Is that, there is an expiration date
I will.
The master plan on the.
on the actual map. Yeah,
I think so.
I do believe there is. So it brought to my attention.
It's going to disappear.
Well, I think I would imagine that would, I don't know if it'd have to be updated because they give you an idea of how much the cost for something.
Certainly. Awesome.
Yeah.
The cost was
Yeah, because that was brought out, I think Sharon, had put that out in an email or something then to be aware that it's gonna be, that there's an expiration.
Yeah, that master plan also includes like over $10 million worth of work. Adding a whole bunch of additional square footage, fully renovating and updating that auditorium to a modern theater space.
Right.
Which doesn't accurately reflect necessarily.
Okay, my only concern is looking down the line was, but as you're looking for grants, and we do get a grant writer someday, and we apply for a grant for the auditorium, this is actually. This works in our favor to have a master plan that's up to date, and it's a point system. We get a certain amount of points for having a master plan that's in. So that's what that's one of the concerns I have. Is it gonna be, does it need to be updated? Does it?
Well, when was it? It was about 4 or 5 years,
Like, been 5 years.
5 years?
So we'll have to look at possibly maybe updating.
Also, yeah, definitely. If you could do that, it'd be great. And obviously I'll help along with that, but another thing on that also is in the grant process. Does the village need a not-for-profit or a 501c3 to siphon through or to work through to get a big grant, or can the village apply for these grants? I know we went to we had a workshop and everything and talked to a lot of the people about getting grant. Were they, I can't remember if they used an organization like AP3.
Sometimes they do. I mean, sometimes it might be advantageous to have another, like 2 groups in a village sponsoring something.
Right. Yeah, because I know that the last thing, when I was approached about that, you have to be in, it has to be an organization for I think 5 years or more in order to use it, and we're at that right now, so I'm just saying.
You can give me a list of questions and I'll send them to our Saratoga associates.
Okay.
They're real helpful, very
Okay.
responsive.
All right.
Any more public comment? Yes, ma'am.
When's the truck being auctioned?
I second that.
A truck, when was the truck?
The fire truck.
What truck? What are you talking about?
It's in the same damn truck we've been talking about for me.
There's a pile of logs by the time it gets auctioned off. I don't have an answer for you yet.
And there goes.
Would you like to auction a pile of rust?
Yeah, that's what it's gonna be.
Hey, we took really good care of it.
Oh.
Well, you had, yes.
All right, any other? Good. Okay, thank God we are not having an executive session. I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Very good.
Gary, stop personnel.
Executive committee.
Hey, we have.
I don't remember. So, have a good trip. All right. We, motion to enter into executive session.
Oh, I'll see you walking my dog. Have a good trip.
Yes, that's part of it. You go look at this. This is all in lights.
That's the first time to see it.
Sorry, I did.
You gotta-
Got it on there.
Oh, just to sign up.
You don't even have to sit it. Oh. I thought I was done. People were shaking my hand.